Someone who's watching this wants to get a job in finance in US, be it private equity, investment banking, venture capital, or even management consulting for that matter, what are some of the possible routes through which they can get a job in the US in these domains? One is the MBA route that you took, which is like the MBA from, let's say, the Ivy Leagues, etc. What are some other possible routes?
When you say what's a good end, how do you enter? Are these people already in the US or are they trying to move?
No, they are in India right now.
Okay.
So most of the people who are watching this are from India.
Right.
They are doing finance.
Right.
They're doing finance in India.
Right.
What I'm trying to ask you is that if they, or even if I, for example, want to get into the US and do a job in finance here, so what are like the possible routes or what are the possible options कि okay ये करके इधर आ सकते हो ऐसे करके आ सकते हो?
I think one, as you mentioned, is you start with. You go there to study and get some experience while you're there. The other way is you can transfer internally, which is a bit tough. More tough in private equity, less tough in consulting, because consulting is a very transferable skill. You could do the same thing anywhere, similar problems to solve. Banking probably is in the middle. Banking, again, similar skills at the junior level, but as you grow senior, it's more networking based. So it really depends on where your network is. If it's in India, it's going to be tough because you're going to have to start from scratch unless there's a way that you already have built a network in the US. For investing roles, buy-side roles, super tough to directly move because you need to have your market knowledge, right? Like, let's say you grew up in India. You know the Indian market very well. You know how people think. You know how consumers think. You understand regulations. You understand government uncertainty, policy making. You understand external risks because you've lived that for the last 15, 20, 30 years. When you move to a new market, you haven't, right? So you don't have a network. You don't know the market. So it's really tough, right? Having said that, I'm sure you can come here for a stint. So you could be let's say you could be working for a global fund. You can come here for 6 months or 1 year on a secondment. Maybe that's where you get your experience and then you go back and then come, or you can try to stay if you perform very well. I think that's one way. But I think the best way to do it is, and it's also good, right? Because the Indian private equity market isn't that developed as compared to the US. So you also want to just learn so much when you come here. And it's a good opportunity to learn, right? Like the transactions are a lot more complex. They are a lot more bigger. The market is much more deeper and much more developed. So I think there's so much to learn. So you probably would want to work here for a few years and then go back to India and then apply whatever you learned in the US to your Indian transactions.
So from what I understand, I think the easiest route for anyone who is watching this has to be like studying in the US for at least like a year or two, maybe for their masters, and then getting a job here. Because transferring from India to the US would be difficult, especially in a private equity, right?
I would assume so, yeah.
Because even like a lot of my Indian friends who are working in even like tech roles or maybe other roles, they have done a master's from some university. Even if it is a tier 2 university, they do their master's here. They do, let's say, something like a CPA, which is Certified Public Accountant, which is equivalent to a Chartered Accountant of India. And then after doing that, they might get a job in like some of the big fours or some of the finance roles here, like accounting, taxation already. That is like that is not hardcore finance, but that for that role, they do a master's here in a tier 2 university and then do CPA and then they get a job here.
Right.
So like, let's say one of my friends is doing a master's from Pace University, which is in New York again. A lot of other universities are there. And then they do it for 2 years and then they get a job here. Like that is the easiest way is what I've heard.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. It's the least tough way to do it, I would say. Because again, depends, right? Like whether it's the US, UK, France, wherever you're going, you are competing on a global level. So you have to be the best of the best in a way to be able to do that. I think.
But I've not seen anyone, or maybe I've seen very less people here in the US who are working here who have not studied here and they are working in the US. Very few.
Yeah, very few. Yeah, very few of my friends have done that.
Yeah. Most of them, like 90% of the people I've interacted with, have studied here and then they are working here.
Yeah, I think especially maybe consulting, you have slightly higher numbers because consulting firms also have those programs, the mobility programs where you can transfer across offices. Yeah.
Right.